ไม่ได้ยินเสียงอะไรเลยนะคะ
Dika Jan. Morning, everyone. Hello, everyone.
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
Chen and everyone.
Please carry on.
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ Morning everybody.
Does anyone have any topic or question they'd like to bring up? To Dao, for a change, do you have anything you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I have a question to Kun Jonathan about
Hi to Dao, please go ahead.
Kalapa. And this is just a story, but when I have a kiwi, then I can taste the kiwi in my mouth, which means that there must be lots of Kalapas, each of which includes rasa of kiwi. Is it true? And probably the same with smell. When we inhale a perfume, then there must be Kalapa of smell of perfume, and there must be lots and lots of Kalapas in the nose, But my question is about seeing. When there is seeing, there must be rupa, chaku aramana,
Right, visible object.
Yeah, and I do not understand where are these Kalapa? Are they floating in the air, or when we see something, we just perceive just single Kalapa, which includes a visual object? I do not quite understand. I cannot visualize the perceiving of visual object, which is included in Kalapas.
And so you are wondering about where the Kalapas are. Okay. So this, as you said, is just a story, because we are just repeating something we have read about in the teachings. The reality at the moment is either the experiencing the visual object, or the taste, or the smell, as the case may be. To think about the location of the Kalapas is really just another story and not relevant to the understanding of the reality that is appearing at that moment. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
So let me ask, how does it help anything to know the answer to your question of where the Kalapas may be located?
In the case of tasting or smelling, the locations, or it's a story, but the locations of these Kalapas are quite limited. But
you mean because of the physical area of of the sense door?
Yeah. But in the case of
I'm not sure that's correct. I honestly don't know the answer. But it's not something that has ever exercised my interest. But I'm not sure it's correct to say the Kalapas must be at such and such a place. I don't know how the contact is made, whether it's as it were direct or remote. All we can say is that the characteristic appears, the characteristic of the taste, the smell, or the visible object. I don't think anything can be assumed about the location of the kalapas in any of those three cases. But I'm sure Ajahn will be able to speak more clearly on this. But I don't know that anything else I can say will be much help.
Yeah, it may be just a story, but I love kiwi, and I have a kiwi every day.
Yeah.
And I get very strong rasa or taste of kiwi. And it means that there must be lots of kalapas, though we cannot say where the mouth is, yeah? But still there must be kalapa. But in the case of seeing, it's very hard to somehow pinpoint where the kalapas are, which include the visual object.
What about sound and body sense?
It's just ignore their problems. But tasting is somehow clear, though it's in just a conventional sense, but it's somehow clear. But seeing is so hard. The object of seeing is so hard to think or even to contemplate.
Yes, it is. Yet it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. And when we see something, we just see a single kalapa or tons of kalapas is what I do not understand.
Well, when you say when we see something, are you referring to the moment that eye consciousness experiences visible object, or are you referring to?
There must be, there must be, but
that would just be one. Obviously, has to be just one instance of the rupa that's experienced.
Yeah. But anyway, that's somehow I do not understand.
I think I've said all I can usefully say on that subject. So I'll let someone else speak, such as Ajahn or Sarah.
When we heard the word Kalapa, do we have any idea what is it? Are we talking about Rupa or talking about Nama when we talk about Kalapa?
Rupa.
We have to understand firstly.
Yeah, Rupa.
Okay, Rupa is the reality which cannot experience at all, right? So now, what appears? In order to understand Kalapa, it's there all the time, but unknown. That's why I begin to understand what is there now appearing. Anything, just one thing, only one, which appears now. So we can talk about Kalapa because it's there. So please, what is there now?
Yeah, Ajahn, in the case of rasa, it's somehow we can somehow perceive it. We can think about it.
No. Just does it appear now, Arupa?
Yeah.
Not understand Kalapa. We have to know what it is and where it is and when it is. Now, what appears, please?
Right now, seeing appears which perceive a visual object. And visual object is a member of a smallest unit of Kalapa.
So what is seen now? Just one thing.
I cannot perceive Kalapas because
No, I didn't talk about Kalapa yet. I just talk about what is seen now or what appears now. It might not be whisper object or whatever it is, what appears.
no, what appears now is just concept.
No, what is there? Sound or smell or that which is seen?
Yeah.
What is there now?
But
Appear.
they are not Kalapas. I cannot perceive
No.
Kalapas.
I don't talk about Kalapa yet. I just talk about what appears. Otherwise, we have the idea of that is Kalapa all the time. But without understanding what is there now, it cannot lead to the understanding of what Kalapa is. That's why there must be Kalapa, and Kalapa must be Rupa, and we are talking about Kalapa. But what is now appearing first?
What appears now is just concept.
No, that is thinking. It does not mean that it appears through the sense though. Now,
No, I cannot perceive realities through sense doors.
can
What?
concept be seen?
Pardon?
Can concept be seen?
Yeah, what I see is just concept. Computer,
No,
keyboard.
concept cannot be seen. It's the moment of thinking only. It cannot be seen. That's why there is so many things in life from moment to moment. And to understand the truth of each moment, it has to be true to the truth of this very moment. Otherwise, there cannot be any understanding of anything because anything must be now in a moment, just only one moment at a time. So now in truth, is there anything seen or heard or touched? No concept about it, but we can use the word to represent what we are talking about through what doorway. For example, when we talk about hardness, if we don't think about the word hardness, but the characteristic of hardness appears when there is touching only.
Not a single person from North America.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
Otherwise, we cannot understand Kalapa. See, when we don't talk about that which is experienced.
Usually, we think that.
No, we don't talk about thinking. We talk about what is experienced now through the sensor. Is there any sensor now?
Yes, but realities do not appear as they are through the sense doors.
That's why we are talking about it, how it does not appear as it is. And the truth of it, does it appear or what appears is not the truth. So what is the truth? When we talk about Kalapa, it has to be a reality for sure. We don't talk about just that, which is not there, useless. But when we heard about the word Kalapa, what it is about the Rupa, that which cannot experience at all. So what is that? Before we talk about it, we have to talk about that which appears now in order to understand Kalapa of that very object, which cannot experience anything. This is what Buddha enlightened, the truth of what is now appearing and what is the truth of it, which no one can think about it at all because it's so very subtle. That's why now begin to understand what is there is the moment of beginning to understand the virtues of the Buddha, who taught about what is there now as it is, for anyone to just listen, study, to know whether it is true or not, to understand what the truth is and what is not true. That's why everything now, no understanding of the truth of it yet, until hearing about what is there, to understand that the truth is in a moment. And what is that now in a moment? Just one thing. And now we are talking about Kalapa. So now we talk about the Rupa, that which cannot experience, in order to understand what is meant by Kalapa. So it begins to understand what is there now in order to understand what Kalapa is. Otherwise, we just say that it cannot be directly experienced and so on. But what is it? Is it there now? So please, what is there at moment of experience through sense object? Because there is sense object now. And we can understand that which is experienced through the sense object. Otherwise, it's not known as before. Never know what is there from moment to moment. So it's useless, not understanding that we were taught about the truth of what is there in a moment as it is. That's why there is the word Kalapa. But
can we ask Sundara to perhaps help us with the definition, the meaning of Kalapa? Sundara?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Can you help us with this? What is the meaning of Kalapa?
Well, it's going to depend on the context. The word Kalapa means a group or a bunch. So just very briefly, so what I understand is like when we talk about the Sudatika, which is the pure eight, we're talking about the Mahabhutas, as well as Wado, Ganda, Raso, and the nutritive essence, Oja. But sometimes it's used also conceptually, like they talk about a bunch of arrows, in a quiver that an archer or a soldier may have. That's called a Kalapa, a group or a bunch. And sometimes feathers in the text, the bird's feathers are sometimes called a Kalapa, like a group or the bunch of feathers. So like all words, it's going to depend on the context, but in the sense that Tadao was speaking about, the way I would briefly speak to it would be that there must be the visual object, which is one of the Kalapas, which is one no. Sometimes one no, which is a synonym. We talked about this quite recently online, is a synonymous with the word Rupa Ramana. So Rupa Ramana and one no are the same thing, that which appears. And I always appreciate when Ajahn reminds us that, that's the important thing to bear in mind, to get back to to what the basics are. And then we can build on from there. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, Sundara, the reason I asked you is that I think there's a tendency when we hear about Kalapa to associate the idea of it being very tiny. And what I think is that is something really unnecessary in understanding what Kalapa really means. As you say, it actually means a group. And in this case, about rupas, we are referring to a group of rupas that must arise together, condition each other. So I'm wondering, is it because the Tao is thinking in terms of it being tiny, very tiny, and impossible to see one Kalapa, or like as though it's an atom or something, that makes it just complicate the matter. Because Achan is saying that to understand Kalapa is by way of understanding the rupas that appear, and it's just simple. Like if you understand visible object, then you know that it is what it means to be a rupa that is part of a kalapa. That is a kalapa.
Yeah, that's right. It's the one no, or the visual object, is one of the Kalapas, one of the pure eight. I mean, and I think what you were kind of alluding to there, Sukin, is that it so easily can become a story, and that may not be so helpful. But if through careful consideration, we can begin to understand that one of the Kalapas, one no, appears now, and that can help us build the foundation of a solid framework of what Dhamma is truly about. And then, of course, we can elaborate onto things like what they call, was it Chakudasaka Kalapa, the Pasada Rupa, and so on. So yes, there are Kalapas everywhere, but sometimes it can be just an intellectual pursuit, which may not be so helpful.
Right, and the Buddha taught us not just to understand as an abstract. A Kalapa is an abstract; it's a reality. I mean, visible object is a Kalapa, sound is a Kalapa. So that's what he taught it. For us that we can understand it, not just think about it.
That's right. It's about considering carefully about what the Dhamma truly is about, not building stories upon stories, which may not be so helpful. But please, Tanajan, you continue. I always appreciate listening to you and hearing what you have to say.
I think that is the study of the word, but it's not the study, the reality which is now appearing. So it cannot be true at all to just the word. But now we understand that what Buddha taught, no matter what word, so many, many words, just help to understand what is there as it is. So it's only moment of what is there. It's not known before at all about what is seen. But now, in order to understand, no matter what word he taught, it can be understood at moment of beginning to study, to understand the moment of seeing as what is there, because it's there to be studied, to understand the word that Buddha taught, that it's all about now. So even the word Kalapa, if there is no understanding of this moment, it's useless. Just remember in mind about the words, and it's lost from moment to moment because not understanding the truth of what is there. So study Dhamma is not just read the book, but what the book taught about this very moment, to understand what is there as it is. So it's time to understand the word of the Buddha about this moment, to understand that he enlightened just not for himself, but to taught just to tell the other to understand the truth of what is there. When it's not begin yet, how can one get closer to understand any word of the teaching like visible object? See, it's visible because it's seen, only that. It's not the teaching of the Buddha. He taught much more than that, to see that actually there's no thing and no one at all. And what is the truth of what is there as it is? So it can begin at this moment of seeing, or any moment, hearing, smelling, tasting. What is there in life are all true, but no understanding. And just learn the book about what is there. But what about what is there now? Because it's taught in the book at moment of seeing what is seen, no matter what is heard, what is there. And what about the Kalapa? Each word can be studied and understand its truth at the moment when it's there. So now, in order to really understand the teachings of the Buddha about the truth, the absolute truth, no one, nothing at all, it has to be this very moment, talking about that which is there. Each word which Buddha taught can be understood the way it is, how it appears, and what is there, the absolute truth. That's why we can talk about anything, the reality at moment of, in order to understand Kalapa, we have to understand it through sense, though, right?
True, Ajahn.
Okay, so now we can talk about what appears now in order to understand Kalapa. Each word from the book, but it's not there. Just the book bring us to understand this free moment. So to be truthful, what is there through one of the five senses? Without five senses, can Kalapa be known, or it can be direct experience with understanding? When Panya developed high enough, no expectation for what would be the object of understanding. So now, study just one sensor where
So we can say, Tanajan, that one no is that which appears now.
so just begin to understand the teaching from the moment when it's there. So please, one doorway of sensor, what is that we will talk about it because it's there now.
A visible object, Ajahn.
Teaching or what?
They're seeing and seeing.
Okay, just seeing. What is seen when there is seeing?
That which is seen, Ajahn.
Pardon?
That which is seen, we call visible object.
Okay, if you don't use visible object, but it's there, all right?
Yes.
But how come to be seen if there's nothing which can impinge on the eye base? That's why even that which impinges on the eye base is not known. But where is it? Without the for primary rupas, hardness, softness, and so on, can there be that which is seen? Because when one is asked, where is the Kalapa? Where is that which is seen? We have to know that if there's nothing, and if there no, that now everyone understand the four primary rupas, the Mahaputta rupa, so we can use that. Without the Mahaputta rupa, there cannot be that which is there. That's why Mahaparupa is Mahaputta rupa, the main one, that the other rupa arising when it's there. The other rupa, four of them, have to arise together with the Mahaputta rupa. So,
Ajahn, this is
touching one of Mahaputta rupa is experienced. Even so, there are other rupa together at not more than 8 rupa. So, excuse me, not less than 8 rupa. There, but only one is experienced as through the body senses there. The moment when what is there seen, just the same, because it has to be that which arises with Mahaputta rupa. In Pali term, it is Upatha rupa or Upataya rupa. See, whenever there are the Mahaputta rupa, the four, there must be the other four, but they cannot all experience at once, just one by one, and one is that which can be seen. In truth, the Kalapa is there. See, in an atom of just one Kalapa, there must be 8 rupa, at least, for sure. And one is that which can be seen. That's why without the four Mahaputta rupa, there cannot be that which is seen at all. If someone doesn't coming in, who knows that someone is coming in? But what is seen is not the hardness and softness. It's that which is there with the four Mahabhuta-rupas. So now we begin to understand. Even there are 8 together, but only one that can impinge on the eye base. So it appears as is there, as it's only that which can be seen. But when it's heard, it's only there, which can be heard, not be seen. And when it's smelled, it's that which is there with Mahabhuta Rupa, which can be smelled, not the other Rupa. And when it's taste and touch, exactly the same. So one, there can be the understanding of the meaning of Kalapa, because what is seen is not just one Kalapa or one Mahabhuta Rupa at all, or not only one Kalapa. It's impossible because what is there, so it's very tiny. Just break what we take for very tiny thing which can be seen. It's much tiny than that, much more tiny than that, because it's there. And when they come together, 8 and 8 and 8 and 8, each Kalapa, condition, shape and form enough to appear as something, like the hair or the tooth or whatever, see? No matter what is seen as something, there must be many Kalapa, and each Kalapa must have the other, must have 8 Rupa. See, and this is the way to understand how can that be seen and where is it? Without the Mahabhuta Rupa, nothing can be seen. Because whenever there is Mahabhuta Rupa, whenever it arises Mahabhuta Rupa, there must be the other 4 Rupa arise with it. So in a Kalapa, at least there must be 8 Rupa, and there must be more by other conditions, Kamma and so on, like the eye base that we call Chakupasatha. The Chakupasatha of the eye base cannot be seen. Even there must be the visible object, one Rupa, which has to arise with each Kalapa of Mahabhuta Rupa. See? So this is the truth. Without Mahabhuta Rupa, nothing can be seen. But the Mahabhuta Rupa itself cannot be seen. Only that which is with it. Whenever there is a group of Mahabhuta Rupa, the 4, there must be that which is seen, and the smell, and the taste, and the 4. And, excuse me, the 3 tangible objects, 3 Mahabhuta Rupa. But 3 Vayu and Tesu. Apo cannot be directly experienced because it's that which and there, what is there together. So what can be touched is only that which is there. But the reality which at the end all this cannot be seen. So we begin to understand the truth of what is there, as there must be Mahabhuta Rupa, but the Mahabhuta Rupa cannot be seen. At the moment of touching, there must be visible object and smell and what is that, the other 4 with it, but only one can be seen, can be experienced. Even Mahabhuta Rupa itself, only one can be directly experienced at a time, which the only 3 Mahabhuta Rupa can be tangible objects. So there can be the understanding of the enlightenment of the Buddha. Without his enlightenment, who can understand the truth? We are listening to the truth of what is that which is seen. And they arise and fall in split second. See, this is the panya, virtues of the Buddha. Everything which is taught can be directly studied and understand the moment when it's there. To understand the truth, what is there is not anything. is only that which can be experienced. And this is only talking about the rupa, not that which experiences so many things in life hidden without the teaching of the Buddha. To begin to study about what he taught is about what is there from moment to moment, to be clearly understood little by little until Panya is strong enough that what is taught by the Buddha can be directly experienced clearly, clearer and clearer until it can appear as it is, as it can, not the Kalapa. Because just about what one Kalapa, breaking everything just into very, very tiny, then as it's seen and experienced, it's not just one Kalapa. The Kalapa is smaller than that. So hearing about the word Kalapa with understanding, no doubt. But when there's no understanding of this moment, there can be doubt all the time. That's why the teaching of the Buddha will lead to the understanding of the truth directly, to see the anatta-ness stage by stage. Even the word experiencing, it's I all the time. Asava, Pavasava, see? So it's there. Without understanding, how can it gone or eradicated forever, never to arise again? But it's there from moment to moment, long, long time before, years and years, 100,000 years, uncountable. That's why can it just not be there anymore, just quickly, in a short time period? Impossible. So the truth is that it depends on understanding what is there, directly or not yet, right now. That is such a barony, to be true to the truth. No one, uncontrollable, arising and falling away, unexpectedly. How fast it is. So it appears as something, shape and form. How many Kalapas to condition such shape and form to be seen as something?
Sometimes, Dhammajan, you've talked about the little dot that impinges on the eye sense, the Chakudasika Pasada. So we can say that that tiny dot, in this case would be one no, is so very, very, very tiny. It's almost unimaginable. Would that be correct?
Yes, and that is the teaching of the Enlightenment. So what does it mean? The enlightenment of the greatest right understanding, great virtues. No one can compare. Just talk about that which can be understood, little by little, about that which is seen. Where is it? How come? To impinge on the eye base without its arising, together with what? And only what can impinge on the eye base. See, only that. Anatta, everything. So without the understanding, it's impossible to let go of the idea of self. Not by sitting, trying to think about it. It's impossible. Because our five khandhas are upadana khandha. Even sanya right now, feeling right now, as it does not appear as object, how can there be the understanding of the truth of it? As it's not just the other reality at all, just one reality at a time, different function, different characteristic. In order to understand Kalapa, it has to be now at moment of experiencing. No matter the sound, it has to be with Mahabhuta Rupa. More than 8. So what is there? 9, see? In a Kalapa. So each Kalapa is different by conditions.
And Achan, the point is to understand that each reality, each rupa is conditioned by other rupas, not how small or how big, isn't it?
That's the meaning of Sankhara-Dhamma. Nothing can arise alone. They arise together as Sahachata Pajaya too. It has to arise with the other together. Cannot be just only one. Otherwise, what about the understanding of Sankhara-Dhamma? Nothing can arise alone by itself. And who can change the way it is? Can anyone try to make it different? Impossible. That's why there is a truth, the absolute truth, and the Satya Dhamma. And the understanding of this clearly is Satyayana of the noble truth. Because this moment, it arises a false way, the first noble truth.
So Tadao, let's come back to your kiwi for a moment. So now there is just dreaming, thinking, fantasizing about the taste of kiwi or the color of kiwi and so on. But at the moment of tasting what is experienced, it's just the rasa, the taste. But that particular taste is conditioned by the Mahabhuta Rupas. And it has to arise with the Mahabhuta Rupas and at least the other 3 Rupas that have to arise together with it in the Kalapa. Has to be also the visible object, the smell and the nutriment, as well as the 4 primary Rupas that have conditioned it. Why is that taste different from another taste? Because it's conditioned in different ways by those Mahabhuta Rupas. But what's experienced is just taste, not Kalapa, not anything else, just taste. And it can only be experienced because that particular taste has impinged on the tongue sense at that moment. And there is the experiencing of tasting conditioned by karma. So many different conditions in order for there to be the tasting of that particular flavor, the one that we call kiwi. And why do we call it kiwi? Because of Sanya has remembered that taste, that flavor, and there's already been the seeing of the visible object. And afterwards, there is the thinking about the shape, the form, the details, in order for there to be the idea of the kiwi fruit. I don't know, was it kiwi fruit or chili? Jonathan thinks it was chili, I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm talking about kiwi fruit. So
No, it was definitely kiwi, because I'm a kiwi.
Kiwi fruit, yes. And so it's exactly the same, whether it's with taste or the visible object. So we don't have to think where has the taste come from or how many groups of tastes are there. All we know is that a taste has impinged, which is the object of experience. And before there can be the impression or the idea of kiwi, countless moments of tasting of different flavors have arisen and fallen away, not before there is there any idea of the taste of a kiwi. And in between, there have been countless moments of seeing, countless moments of touching. Even when we think we're just experiencing the flavor of the kiwi, there are also touch impressions visible objects seen, and thinking about all of these in order for there to be the idea of the kiwi fruit that's been experienced. So it's
only one
just the
kiwi.
same with sound or with visible object or any other groups of rupas. One rupa that impinges on the sense base or the eye sense or the ear sense, but many, many moments of experiencing and many, many moments of thinking and dreaming before there's any idea of a kiwi that is tasted or seen or touched at all.
Yeah. But each rasa is included in a single kalapa.
That's correct, yes.
Correct, yeah. What I do not understand is one no rupa, visual object, which is also included in the kalapa, yeah? In the case of tasting, somehow I can imagine, I can think of sort of there's a contact between tongue sense and rasa, yeah? But I cannot somehow visualize how one no, which is included in Kalapa, contact with.
It's just another word for visual object, Tadao. Just
Yeah,
another word for.
but-
It's just
but
just an alternative word. That's all.
No. It's just a single moment of contact, or there would be hundreds of moments of contact.
Probably
It's just
millions.
It's just the same. So the visible object is being conditioned in just the same way by the primary rupas, and it has to rise with those and with the other rupas. And each visible object seen is different because it's conditioned in different ways by those primary rupas. And it has to have impinged on the eye sense, and seeing has to have arisen by past karma to experience that visible object. And just exactly like with the taste, there are countless experiences of different visible objects and different kalapas with thinking in between and other sense experiences in between before there can be any impression of this person or this fruit or that fruit. So it's exactly the same. The visible object has impinged on the eye sense, and that visible object has been conditioned by the other primary rupas in that kalapa and fallen away instantly.
Okay.
Again and again and again, in order for there to be the impression of the shape, the form, something, someone that is seen, just like in the example of the rasa, the taste.
So this brings back to the original question. Are kalapas floating around, and so that floating around in the air so that we can perceive one no of each of these kalapas as visual object?
So in indefinite number of kalapas of rupas arising and falling away all the time, but it just depends on whether any visible object in any kalapa impinges on the eye sense at this moment or not.
Oh.
And
Okay.
if it doesn't impinge and it's not seen, it's not of any importance. That's the point. So in the forest out there, countless kalapas of rupas arising and falling away, but no experience. So it's not here and now.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you.
And also, Sarah, if I'm not wrong, we know about rupas that have arisen and if it's like almost fallen away, even though it contacts the base, it does not condition the consciousness, the seeing, the tasting, the smelling, right?
So no conditions at that moment for karma to condition seeing. So it depends when it has impinged, and it depends whether seeing has been conditioned to rise to experience it. So many different conditions in order for there to be a moment of experience, seeing of a particular visible object at this moment. And I think, as Ajahn said earlier, if there's no understanding now of visible object that's seen, impossible to understand what is Kalapa in any way at all, because it is the visible object that's seen that is understood, how it has arisen and how it is conditioned by the other rupas it arises together with. Otherwise, it's just a story about kalapas and atoms and tiny particles and so on. So it has to come back to the understanding now of taste as it is, if it appears, of visible object now, if it is seen. But this is the way to understand why each visible object is different, why it falls away instantly, and how there comes to be the idea of this person or that person or the kiwi fruit rather than the apple, for example.
And I think the Kalapas, the teaching on Kalapas does help to condition the understanding, that only one reality appears at a time. Whereas if it's about the atoms, etc., molecules and atoms, that is just concepts.
And it's here and now. The visible object that's seen now is different from the visible object that was seen a moment ago, conditioned in a different way by the Mahabhuta rupas, the primary rupas that have conditioned it right now to this particular one. And it's different again and again and again at each instant. Never the same, always gone. I'd like to just ask one or two people who are newer here, like Tan, because there are a lot of deep topics here. If there's anything you would like to ask about or anything that's not clear.
Thank you, Sarah. It's very, very good discussing. Thank you all. But the last saying of yours, you mentioned about the Mahararupa condition. I didn't know that there is a Mahararupa can condition for the visible object. I thought there's karma condition. There's like Ajahn explained a moment ago, is Sahajata Pakchaya and so on. But I didn't know there's Mahara Rupa can condition that as well.
Okay, let's just go back to basics. So each group of rupas, each kalapa of rupas, consists of at least minimum 8 rupas. And these 8 rupas that always arise in every kalapa are the 4 primary rupas. The heat, earth, water and air elements, and 4 other derived rupas that have to arise together with them in the group. And the 4 rupas that have to arise in every group are the visible object, the taste, smell, nutriment. In every group of rupas, these 8 rupas always arise together. And the 4 primary rupas condition the derived rupas, the visible object, the taste, the smell, the nutriment, and any other derived rupas that might arise as well for example, Ajahn mentioned when sound is heard, there must be at least 9 rupas in that group, because there have to be the 8 rupas that always arise together plus sound, so 9. And there may be 10, 11, 12, 13, depending on what the group of rupas consists of. So the derived rupas are always conditioned by the primary rupas, but not the other way round. And the primary rupas together condition each other by sahajata paccaya, as you mentioned, the association condition, and also by nisya paccaya, they support each other. But the derived rupas are conditioned by the primary rupas rather than the other way round. So we then have to consider what is the cause of each group of rupas. So if the group of rupas arises outside the body, such as the group of rupas with visible object in, then that group of rupas is always conditioned by temperature only, not by karma, not by chitta, not by nutriment, only by temperature. But if the group of rupas arises in the body, like Ajahn mentioned, the eye sense group of rupas, then it is conditioned by karma. So if we're talking about the eye sense group of rupas, it must have the 8 indivisible rupas, the 4 primaries, visible object, taste, smell, nutriment, plus the eye sense 9, plus, because it's been conditioned by karma, jivitindriya rupa. So there must be then at least 10 rupas in that group. So we have to consider each group as to how it is conditioned. Is that a little bit clearer? It's a deep topic.
Yes, thank you very much. Very clear. Sorry, it's a bit noisy here because the man cutting the grass. I don't know, it's too noisy for you. That's why I keep
No, that's fine. But also, Sundra, yes. Please turn off your mic. We could hear your...
Thank you, Sarah. This is very good. Yeah, thank you. So that's why I can understand why Tadao said we can't see the Kalapa because it's too many and it's too quick.
At a moment of seeing, only one reality is ever seen, and that is the visible object. So the visible object arises in the Kalapa, in that group of 8 rupas. But for example, the hardness in that group isn't seen. The heat is not seen. Only the visible object is seen. But it cannot arise unless it is conditioned by the rupas in that Kalapa. So it always arises in a group, but only the visible object is ever seen. Only the visible object ever impinges on the eye sense to be seen. But it has been conditioned by the primary rupas in that group.
And I think Tadao's point was a little bit different from what you just said, Tom. I think his point was to do with the fact that when there is the seeing of what we take to be a distant object, such as a far wall or a tree a long distance away, his question is, where is the Kalapa at that moment of experiencing that visible object? He cannot conceptualize the location of the Kalapa.
Right.
No, Jonathan. I'm saying that something far or near are related with Kalapa, because these are just concepts, attributes of a visual object. What I'm wondering is whether 100 or thousands and thousands of Kalapas are floating in the air. And one of them, one by one, these of Kalapas become sort of have a contact with Chakvinyana. It's what I'm trying to convey.
So what's your understanding of when there is the seeing of a far distant object in terms of what impinges on the eye base?
No, something just one rupa have a contact with Chakvinyana, yeah? Then that will produce nimitta and then concept, and all the attributes of the world, or we are as attributes of concept can be derived from, can be sort of extracted from even a single contact of a visual object. But my original question is whether thousands and thousands of Kalapas are floating or as a potentials of visual object.
Well, I understood you to be drawing a distinction between Kalapas that contain, say, the smell or taste, and Kalapas that contain visible object.
Yeah, but Kalapas or rasa, which is included in Kalapa, yeah? And these are somehow easier to perceive than the visual object, which is included in Kalapas.
You mean easier to imagine?
Yeah.
So what's your imagination of the Kalapas that contain rasa?
It's just rasa. Just
seems to me all
well,
seems to me, just my own personal, it's an unnecessary kind of speculation.
yeah. But it's sort of compared to eye sense, tasting and smelling are somehow easier to perceive.
Personally, I would take all that kind of imagining as just speculation. It's nothing to do with understanding. Just because one's read about it, and then one has an idea of Kalapas and so forth, I think it's not useful and possibly dangerous, even in the sense of right or wrong view, to think that one can conceptualize correctly about Kalapas, whether it's taste or visible object.
Yeah, these are basic units of senses object. So it's nothing.
Well, only because one's read about it, not in terms of anything to do with direct experience and verifying the reality.
No.
I've always found it, when I start trying to, in my own mind, I realize I'm trying to locate these things. And they're really, I don't think you can locate them. Where is this Kalapa? Where is that Kalapa? How far away would it be? Because locating it is again conceptual and just trying to imagine it. Now, maybe what I'm doing is probably imagining as well by trying not to locate it. Because when you start locating it, you're really locating it relative to the self. Like, here I am, here are my eyes.
And it becomes very far away from understanding just what appears now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that as soon as there's the idea, oh, well, smell and taste are easier because they're closer, then it shows there's something wrong with the understanding, because it's actually just the same, no matter whether it's for visible object or taste or sound. It's just that reality which appears, which has to have been conditioned by the other rupas that arise with it in the group, by the Mahabhuta rupas, the primary rupas. And it's just that which is seen now, just that which is heard now. That's all. And if we think, well, this one, the taste is easier because it's closer than the other, it's not the understanding of either the visible object or the taste at this moment.
Yeah, I feel that some are easier than the other. For instance, touching, experiencing something warm or cold is much easier than seeing things. Seeing things is really difficult. Touching is much easier. It's my understanding.
But the point is that whatever it is there because it's there. I mean, the sound is real because it's being experienced. A visible object is real because it's being experienced, or taste is real because it's being experienced, and it's there only at that moment. It's the same for all realities. If it's not there, it's not there.
Visual object is so difficult.
It is here. It is there is seeing now. The visible object is being experienced.
But Sukin, there's seeing all the time.
Not all the time, from what we have
Oh
heard.
yeah, except sleeping, yeah.
No, because only one experience at a time. When there's thinking, there's no seeing. When there's hearing, there's no seeing.
I don't know, but I'm thinking, but I still can see.
And
Because no understanding. Because at a moment of tasting, no seeing at the moment of tasting, each chitta arises and falls away instantly by conditions. No chitta can last for more than a moment. It arises and falls away instantly, even quicker than the rupa that's experienced. Falls away immediately.
But we can't see that, Sarah, so how do we know? We can't see because it arises and falls instantly. And then there's a thinking in it, so how can we tell?
And we can't do anything.
We're not required to, it's not suggested that we can tell or that we should be trying to tell, because the task is just to experience different realities as they are and their characteristic at the beginning anyway. Obviously, as understanding is developed to higher degrees, then more and more depth of understanding is acquired. But in terms of how of what we read about in the text, the proportion of that can be potentially verified by direct experience is very small. So that's why we keep coming back to the seeing invisible object, hearing and sound, because these are some of the realities that potentially can be directly experienced by their characteristic.
Is what is seen now the same as what was seen a moment ago, Tam?
To me, yes.
Is what is heard now the same as what was heard even a tiny, tiny instant ago?
No.
No. Is the seeing now the same as a moment ago? Because the seeing sees what is seen now. cannot be the same as what the seeing which saw what was seen a moment ago. The hearing which hears what is heard now, can it be the same as the hearing?
Right. Yeah. Sorry, it's very noisy here. I don't know whether it affects your.
We can't hear it, Tom.
So the sound that's heard now is different from the sound a moment ago. So the hearing now is not the same as the hearing an instant ago. The seeing now is not the same as the seeing a moment ago. The thinking now is different from the thinking a moment ago. Whatever arises falls away instantly and is never the same.
Yes, thank you.
Each taste, even when drinking tea, each taste is different. But it seems to last because there's thinking, I see Anne or I see Ajahn. But that's the thinking, the idea, not what is seen.
Sarah, I just got one more question regarding about the rupa. The rupa condition, is that called the in Pali it's called the aramya pakya? Is that the same one? Thank you.
The aramana is the object. So it's the object of experience. So at a moment of seeing, the aramana is the visible object. At the moment of hearing, the aramana, the object, is sound. But at a moment of thinking about kiwi, the aramana is an idea, a concept, an impression of kiwi fruit. So it's
Right,
whatever
so
is experienced is the aramana. So
yep.
Every chitta that arises in life has to have an aramana, has to have an object that is experienced.
Yes,
And that
so
is
it's
what
completely
is
different
meant.
from the rupa. Yeah.
So that is what is meant by aramana paccaya. It can be a rupa, it can be a nama, or it can be a concept. Whatever is experienced at any moment.
When you say it can be a rupa, what do you mean by that? When you said it can be a rupa?
When the experience is through a sense door, at moments of seeing and when other chittas arise in the eye-door process, the object has to be a rupa, has to be a visible object. Through the ear door, it's always a rupa that is experienced. But through the mind door, it can be a nama, a rupa, or it can be a concept.
So, Tom, for example,
Yes.
For example, the sound that's heard is just sound, it's a rupa, but the idea that it's a grass cutter is a concept. So the sound is the aramana when there's hearing, and the grass cutter is the aramana when there's thinking.
Right, yes, thank you. Yes, thank you.
So when we mention aramana paccaya, it just means that the object that is experienced, that's all, nothing else. Chitta cannot arise without an object that is experienced. Seeing has to see visible object, hearing has to hear sound, thinking has to think about something, an idea or impression. That you check all these points that are not clear, Tam, because a lot of details are given, so it's good that you ask.
Yes, they're similar. So you know, like aramya paccaya, it has rupa in it. It got concept in it as well, but
only one aramana at a time. There can only ever be one aramana. So at a moment of seeing, only visible object is the aramana. not the other rupas in the Kalapa, not a concept, not anything else, only the visible object rupa. So there can only ever be one aramana, one object, either a rupa or a nama or a concept. Never more.
Yes, thank you. It's very clear now. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hi, Hong. Good to hear you.
May I ask Tamthan about what do you understand the meaning of aramana or understanding of the object, the meaning? Do you understand when you talk about
Yes.
aramana or object?
Yes, the aramana, like Sarah just explained, is about the object of understanding.
Of consciousness.
For each
Object of
sense
experience. Yeah.
of experience. Yeah.
It might be the object of attachment or object of seeing. At every moment in life, there is an object experience.
Yes, object of experience.
Can you give a sample, Tamthan?
Yes, for seeing, you have the visible object. For hearing, you have the sounds.
So what the visible object? What is it? What is it? The visible object?
That is which is seen.
Can you talk object? Visible object is the aramana or the experience, the object. Do you understand what I mean?
Sorry, no.
Tamthan,
No.
can I talk Vietnamese with Tamthan? Tamthan có hiểu là khi Tamthan nói visual object nó là cảnh, đối tượng hay nó là tâm?
Nó là cảnh.
Can you talk English? Explain about visible object. Is the object aramana pachaya or the citta experience the object? Can you talk? Can you?
Is aramana? I understand by Sarah explained is that is the object of experiencing.
Okay. What about sound?
That's the object of experience for the hearing.
What about when you're thinking about the man cut the grass?
Cutting the grass, that's the concept, that's the idea, the thinking.
Okay.
Am I right?
You have
Thank
to
you.
understand what is the object, not a right or wrong. Okay, that I am to ask to make sure you understand or not. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Hello. I have a question about concept. I understand concept cannot be a condition. However, I just heard that concept can be a ramana. So could somebody explain that, please?
Sukin. Yeah.
Maybe Achan.
So the concept is experienced, and when it's experienced, it's aramana pachya, but it just means it is the object of experience, that's all. A cup doesn't do anything because it's just that which is imagined. So it's just the object of experience.
And so
And that's all that aramana pachya means. It's just the object of experience at that moment.
okay. And so when we say concept can't be a condition.
Except
I also got this
except
idea
by
that
way of
go on. By way
just
of
except by way of being the object of experience. That's all it means. It doesn't condition the seeing or the thinking to arise like a visible object, for example, but it's just that which is experienced.
right.
It's the
Okay.
chitta which is conditioned to arise, to experience this or that object because of sanya and the accumulation of thinking, which conditions it to experience
Why I
kiwi rather
asked,
than apple.
right, why I asked is it just seems like there's so many concepts going on, and it seems like on the gross level that the concepts condition some sort of action. But really, a concept can only be an object of thinking. Is that
Yes, so the concepts are not going on, they're not arising and falling away. They're just that which is thought about or imagined, like kiwi fruit isn't doing anything, it's not arising and falling away. But when there are conditions for thinking because of memory to think about kiwi, it's just the object of that experience. That's all.
Some people have the idea that if there's thinking about, for example, death or peace or something, that this will condition calmness, that the object, that concept as object can condition also mental state. But that's not the sense in which it can be object. The general rule is that concept does not condition, is not one of the conditions except in the case of object condition, as Sarah said.
Like the words in the book, words in the book, the words in the Tipitaka don't condition understanding. It's the wise consideration about those words that conditions the understanding. There'll be a day when there are countless copies of Tipitaka in different libraries, but nothing understood about any of them. So it's the accumulation of understanding of the meaning from what has been seen and heard and read that conditions more understanding. The ideas, the meanings, the words are just the object of thinking, wisely or unwisely.
Thank you. I do have a question for Achan regarding the Pali word kata. And I did have a query on DSG about it, and I understand it means the words of the Buddha. However, Achan, I heard you say one time virya kata, and I did not understand what it means. Could you explain, please, what virya kata means?
Are you there, Achan? We can't hear you.
Is there virya now?
Well, yes, probably there's virya now.
And we are talking about the truth to understand it as it is, that it needs virya or not, to think about it, to study it carefully, closer and closer, to understand the truth of it. Are these moments without virya, or is it with virya each moment? When it's moment of understanding, moment of hearing and considering too, not just hearing the word. So that's why we can understand how many chittas arise with virya, see, and usually how many chitta does not arise with virya. So we can understand that even virya is there. It is not the object it doesn't show out, it does not appear, even it's there. Because it cannot arise with how many ahetuka citta without hetu. There are altogether 18 types of ahetuka, but only 2 can have virya with it. And the 2 is manodvara vachana, because in order to think about that which has been experienced, it has to have virya with it. Otherwise, how can it perform that function? Because it's not experiencing moment, but it's moment of thinking about it. So even that has to have virya arising to perform that function. That's why we learn about the citta in detail, so that there can be more understanding of what is there and what is not there. So now there are virya almost every moment, only when it is manodvara vachana, and the other one is hasitupata, even is the smiling factor of arahata. But who's arahata now? So that can be just forget it, because it doesn't appear now, but know that it's just for arahata. So now there must be virya. The more we talk about the truth, which is hidden, it needs virya to consider more careful than usual, to really understand each word, to really understand the truth. The point of teaching the truth is to understand the truth, as it cannot be taken as anything, as one has taken it from life to life, years and years ago. So each one is so very, very rapidly arising and falling away as it is. That's why we learn to understand that even we try to have, we do not just try to do anything, it's there already. So when one is trying, virya shows up, but not as virya, as I am trying. That's why we are talking about virya right now. It's there now, at moment of understanding, and whatever is there when it's not the two hetuka cittas. Is that right? What about not talking about Dhamma, even anything? It's there not virya, but different virya. The kusala or the akusala. See, with how many degrees of understanding. And it is virya parami. Without it, it's impossible to understand better what is there now as it is. Little by little is there. That's why it needs virya to be parami, not to study the other subject, cooking and so on. But now, what is there? It takes quite a long, long time. Without virya, it's impossible to study what is there as it is, as no one and no thing.
So Ajahn, the virya you're speaking about now is the virya kata that you mentioned before in another talk. So the virya that we have when we go to do something that's not kusala, that's akusala, that's not virya kata.
No, virya kata is just about understanding the truth.
Okay, that makes it clearer.
Virya at the other moments, it's not kata, the word from the Buddha, to condition understanding.
But
So we have to study what are the 10 kata vatu about the truth.
Oh, you're asking me. I don't really know. I don't know what the answer to that is. The 10.
What is kata? See, words, right?
I understand it's words of the Buddha.
So whatever one speaks, it's all kata. But when it's the 10 kata vatu, it concerns the development of right understanding. That it needs the other kind of kata not just urge one to do things around as usual, but to develop the understanding of the truth without Viriyakatha, about the Kalapa, about the Mahaputarupa, about whatever is there now. It's impossible to understand what is there. So that is not the 10 Kathavatu. That's why we have to study what are the 10 which will condition the understanding of the truth of this very moment, any time. So when we talk about movies, television, is that Kathavatu? It is Katha, but not Kathavatu.
Very interesting. Yes, that's new information for me, Ajahn. But I'm understanding what you're saying.
Is it also about Viriya? Kathavatu?
Yes, well, the Kusala Virya.
Any virya, it's about any reality. It's about the truth of any reality. So when Ajahn was talking about virya arising with almost every cheetah except for 16 Ahetuka cheetahs, it's any kind of virya. So the Buddha's words, the Katawatu, about the truth of all realities. That's why we have the Abhidhamma text, the Katawatu. So it's the words of truth about all realities, no matter kalapas or visible objects or sounds or kusala virya or akusala virya or vipaka virya. Any truth about any reality is the words of the Buddha about the truth of life, katavatu. But when there's akusala virya arising, like when one's just watching TV or cooking without any understanding of anything and no interest in understanding the truth, then it's not katawatu, because there's no understanding of anything regarding the truth. So it's the truth about realities.
Okay, katavatu means the truth of realities. Is that? Can't hear you.
It's referring to the words, the discourses of the Buddha, which are always about the truth of realities. So whatever the Buddha taught is katawatu. It is about the truth of realities. Kusala, akusala, vipaka, kiriya, rupas, hasitupada. It's all about the truth of life. So any kind of virya has to be understood. So that's why we consider when virya arises and which cheetahs it doesn't arise with and so on. Like at moments of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, no virya, because it's not necessary to arise with these particular vipaka cheetahs. So even this is katawatu.
Thank you. I did read up a lot on Wiki in the DSG. There's quite a lot of posts. And I thought I understood, but obviously not. I'll go through them again with a new little bit of knowledge and see if it's any clearer. But yeah, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Ajahn.
So Ajahn, Viriya has bala or no?
Yes. When it's with the development of Panya, Satipatthana, to be Indriya, and more than that, stronger than that is Pala, because it can understand whatever is there, not just like at the beginning, only some at a time. But now, when it's so very skillful, it can understand whatever is there, because it has developed to the degree that it can understand no matter what, now and the future.
So when it can understand, it becomes Panya.
At moment of right understanding, it's no one. only a reality which is able to understand the truth. And that is what we say, panya. Because it's different from ignorance, not understand the truth of what is there now. But panya has many degrees, that's why it needs the development of understanding from hearing and considering until it is moment of direct understanding with direct awareness of that which has been studied before to understand it at that very moment, unexpectedly, unknown before. What would be the object of that very moment? Each time, each moment can be the proof of how much understanding of the truth of the study of the teachings, hearing the words about what is there.
Thank you.
So Tan, virya arises with most citas, and if it arises, and when there is wise considering now, panya is there at those moments of wise considering, and virya is there, but it's not bala, it's not powerful, it's not the development of satipatthana yet, because it's just thinking about concepts of realities. The concept of reality is the aramana, but there's more and more wise considering ready to condition the direct understanding. And only when there is the direct understanding of reality, no matter taste or visible object or sound, no, without any expectation or selection, only then is the panya and the virya indriyas, and only when it develops further and is strong and powerful and unwavering is the panya and the virya and the sati and the samadhi balas powerful at those moments. So it's not referring to the virya now that arises at moments of wise considering.
Yes, thank you. Wow, so much to learn.
The beginning of understanding the teachings of the Buddha. Much more.
Sometimes learning one word at a time, like Ajahn always encourage us to understand one word at a time, like object, aramana, what is it? So one word understand, and you can understand another word like Dhamma. So Ajahn, I may say thank you, appreciate your work about encourage us to learn one word at a time until understand clearly every word that have heard from the Buddha teaching or represented from Ajahn. Thank you.
I appreciate your understanding very much.
It is the treasure of Dhamma, never found in anywhere, but found in the Buddha words. It's so true.
And I think, like you implying, Hong, it's a mistake to try to catch every term or try to understand everything, or to think that we can understand the meaning of every detail all at once. It's better to just consider carefully, a little. Otherwise, Loba is chasing after this and everything, and nothing is understood clearly at all. So better to just come back to understanding a little bit more about what appears now.
Sawadee Prajan. I've been thinking about how karma conditions patisandhi citta can only be one single karma conditioning patisandhi citta, and we know that after following patisandhi, there are many bhavangas, and bhavanga cittas continue all through the life, for all through the lifetime, and this would be the but would this bhavanga cittas be conditioned by not by the same karma which conditioned the patisandhi of that lifetime? Because I know that at the moment of patisandhi, all karmas are collected, similar karmas are collected together as ayuhana. So I'm not sure whether all the bhavanga cittas in one lifetime are conditioned by the same karma which conditioned the patisandhi, or by the ayuhana which is collected at one moment of patisandhi, of new birth. I'm not sure if I made myself clear. Can you explain more about karma and ayuhana and patisandhi and bhavangas? Many. Thank you. Thank you, John. Many words. Maybe too many words.
Can't hear you, Ajahn.
We can understand just one reality or one word or one condition at a time. So talking about karma, there are many different levels of karma, right? Like the Rupavajra Citta, so skillful, much more moments than Kamavajra, right? In daily life. Because in daily life, the bhavanga is interrupted by the process of experiencing objects through the doorways. But at that very moment, it's so long and so strong. So when it produces results, can it be exactly the same, like karma condition for moments in killing, not as much as when it is developed through the other level of kusala. That's why it depends on karma. That's why some people born and die very early, shortly, just as baby or even in the womb. See, by karma, who conditioned that? That's why short life or long life or what are there? There must be conditions. And for any vipaka result, it has to depend on karma. That there are many karmas all the time in one's life, from day to day, different ones. So who can understand this moment of seeing? But what can be understood that it's just a moment produced or conditioned by a karma, which is unknown from what life, last life, this life, or long time ago, eons and eons, who knows? But that which can be known, that no one can have it arise at all. Only karma can condition such moment of experiencing the object, no matter it is through eye door or ear door or nose or smell or touch and so on. All depends on a condition, which is karma, which can produce the result, which is the experiencing the object by karma to experience pleasant or unpleasant object because of kusala karma or akusala karma. So be sure from the very beginning that what is moment of vipaka and what moment is not vipaka, but it's the moment of the accumulation of attachment or aversion or ignorance or in the day. That's why even understanding what karma condition seeing right now cannot be known at all. But at moment of being born differently, as dog and cat, as human being or deva, different karmas can condition such different moment of birth to be such and such, even after that. That's why in one's life, why this person experiences this, and sometimes the other person not always pleasant or good life all the time, but moments of grief and unsatisfactoriness are there all the time too, by conditions, what can be there at that very moment. That's why having understanding the truth of no one can make it, and that which is vipaka, how many are there? And when it is vipaka, it has to be the result of karma. That's why, is there still any doubt of karma, which condition birth? And when karma produces result, just one moment of birth, is it enough for such deeds that has been done? Not enough. That's why it can produce or condition more moments after death, depending on karma. But there can be other karma which is ready to condition different results from what the karma conditioned birth and the other moment from that very karma to see that and that and that. That's why even one is born very rich, very wealthy. But what about seeing unpleasant moments? It's not the same vipaka as that which condition such birth at all. That's why all depends on karma, no matter what kind of birth is there, seeing or hearing, pleasant or unpleasant object, as the other karma too, after that, to like or dislike or understanding. That's why all depends on karma. That's why we study what karma is there at that very moment of seeing. And there are other conditions, not only karma too, utu, and so on. That's why we learn to understand that what is there is condition and not just one condition. Like when it is karma, what can be the moment of seeing, which seeing is conditioned by karma. But what about the eye sense? See? So it depends on to be born human being, but to be blind, is it from the same karma to be born a human being, or another karma, or the other karma conditioned moment of not having eye base to arise because of that karma which hinders the moment when it should arise as usual to the others. But for that person, it's different by different karma. As much as we can understand is that a moment of vipaka is a moment of karma, and there are so many karma. That's why the other karma can condition result too, not just only the karma which condition birth and bhavanga.
And Alberta, all the bhavanga citas in life have to be conditioned by the same karma that conditioned the patisandhi and also the chuti cita later. They're all conditioned by the same karma. But the other moments of vipaka like Ajahn was referring to, seeing, hearing, conditioned by other karma, but the Bhavanga Chitta's exactly the same karma that conditioned the Patisandhi.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
They're the same kind of chitta. It's just at a moment of birth it has a different function, but otherwise exactly the same chitta conditioned by the same cause.
And when it's time for the karma which conditioned birth will end its moment of death, who knows when? But it has to be by the karma which conditioned birth come to the end, not to be this person anymore at all. New karma, new birth, new life, but it cannot belong to anyone or anything at all, by conditions only.
So the ayuhana refers to all the karma that has been accumulated in that chitta at the moment of birth that can bring results during that life. So like any chitta, it carries all the previous accumulations, all the past karma, but it's referring to those karma that can bring results in life, like the akusala karma that conditions the loss of eyesight or whatever. But the actual patisandhi and all the bhavangas are conditioned by the same karma.
And we can say that that very karma, which condition birth consciousness, also collect the other karma, which can condition results in that life only. Otherwise, there cannot be different happenings or events in a day, from day to day, for everyone, different all the time. What would happen tomorrow, who knows, or even just next moment, by what kind of karma, the karma which condition birth of this life, or the other karma which is ready to condition its result. No one knows. All depends on conditions. But such birth collects what can happen in such life only. For example, a dog, a cat, it can be moment of kusala vipaka from the other kusala karma which can condition such moment. But to that far, not more than that. Not like human being or human, and human is not just like Deva. See, even its seeing is different by conditions, pleasant object or unpleasant object. And even pleasant object is different too by the degrees of karma. So the ayuhana is the collection of that which collects the karma which can produce, which can condition the result in that life. But the result is just the result, but only the thinking about it is different. Because even a dog can see, a cat can see, as humans see, it's the same thing. But what after is different. What
Ajahn,
about? Yes, please.
Ajahn, I know I've asked this kind of question before, and it keeps, I guess I haven't got it right yet. When we talk about the Bhattisanti Citta containing all, not the containing isn't the right word, able to condition all all gamma that can be, I'm not getting this at all. When, at the moment of birth, we talk about that, among other things, the ayuhana gamma, and that is all of the gamma which can bring results in this life. Is that right?
Each life is different, even human beings' life by ayuhana too, because the birth consciousness which condition this life, not just only that only, which conditioned by only a gamma, but what about the other gammas? And ayuhana means that the other gamma which can arise in that life, not the other life. For example, the very pleasant moment of experiencing what is there in Deva cannot be object of human being. So ayuhana is just the moment when any karma can produce conditioned results in this life. So what can be conditioned to condition the vipaka in this life are ayuhana, that which the karma conditions only such karma to be able to produce, to condition results, even right now. Not by the same karma of patisanti citta, or it can be the same, because when it is the result of kusala vipaka, it conditions the moment of experience as pleasant object, but how much different of the object which is experienced. So it's not just always by only the karma which produce birth, but it can be the other karma, ayuhana, that it can condition vipaka in that life only. As dog and cat, as human being, or as deva, different ones, different moment. That's all.
Thank you. That's clear. I think the mistake or the error that in my thinking, and I don't know where this would have come from, but all of the gamma that has been accumulated over many, many lives throughout the eons, that is accumulated in each citta. Is that correct?
Yes, because only citta can accumulate what has happened.
So
but not every one of those karmas that's been accumulated, there cannot be the conditions for every kind of karma to bring results in this lifetime. Only some of those karmas that have been accumulated have the possibility to bring results in this lifetime.
And this
if
is
it's not
what
a Deva realm, there cannot be the same
right.
tastes experienced or the same sounds heard, for example. So the karma is being accumulated, but it depends on those other conditions, whether it can bring results in this lifetime. And that comes down to the ayuhana at the moment of birth, what is possible in this lifetime.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajahn.
But the past karma is never lost, but it cannot all bring its results.
So Sarah, would you say that, for example, a dog would never enjoy a steak as a human being enjoys a steak?
It would never be the flavors that are experienced in the Deva realm, for example. The very special taste.
But dog being dog and not a human being, it will be limited in its capacity to enjoy the objects of this world as compared to a human being.
We're just talking about the results of karma, that's all.
Right.
So the results of karma cannot be the same.
I'm not sure that's necessarily so, Sukin, but we don't know how sensitive, for example, dogs' taste would be. For example, their sensitivity to sound is in many respects higher than our own. So we know that sensitivity varies from doorway to doorway.
Right, in a human realm, there will never be the experiencing of sounds in the way that there are for a dog. Or the odor, one cannot smell the odor of that we call cancer, for example. So it's different according to different karmas. So this is ayuhana, what results there can be in different lives, and the results in a dog's life will be different than the results in an ant's life or a giraffe's life. So what is possible depends on ayuhana, what can be the result of karma. In another life, in a later life, the one that we call the dog, in several lifetimes later, it may be rebirth in a deva realm, and the past karma can bring its result of deva results.
Thank you. That makes it much clearer. Thank you, Ajahn, Sarah.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Sawasdee ka. Bye bye everyone.